Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, brothers and sisters. This is Troy from the last dispensation. I'm sicker than a dog, so forgive me. I do have coronavirus. I have all the symptoms. I can't smell, I can't taste. I've got chills. We're all doing okay. Andrea's feeling a little bit better. We're trooping through it. During the time of Christ, there were many fatal diseases. There was leprosy, which was one of them. The modern world is getting reacquainted with plagues and diseases. We have many on the face of the earth today. Let's talk about what happened in 1346. I believe it was 1346. 1347. Now, a lot of folks, we read Revelations chapter 9, chapter 12, Daniel, Matthew 24, and we read about the four angels being loosed. They were prepared for an hour. This is, let's read Revelations 9:15. Forgive my slowness, okay? Oh, by the way, share our channel on Facebook if you don't mind. I want to get this out there. I want to get more people watching and listening to both channels, The Last Dispensation and Perfecting the Saints. So if you don't mind sharing it on your social media, I would love for you to do that, and thank you. Don't share everything. Share what, or share everything. I don't care, whatever. So, Revelations 9:15, and the four angels were loosed, which were prepared for an hour, and a day, and a month, and a year, for to slay the third part of men. Prior verses indicated these beings were bound, meaning they are fallen angels or demons. Or maybe they weren't demons and angels. Maybe they weren't demons and fallen angels. Maybe they were something John saw under a microscope. Releasing the disease, the virus. Maybe he saw viruses. The purpose of these demons' release was to kill 1/3 of mankind. And we always think that that's going to be a future thing. A lot of eschatologists, people that read end time stuff and study it, they read these scriptures and they think that that's something going to happen in the future. But a lot of Christians also believe that those 7 seals that John talks about are all going to happen almost simultaneously, one after the other. But those seals are each 1,000 years of this earth's temporal existence. So we've only been here 6,000 years, folks. I don't care what you say. The purpose of these demons' release was to kill 1/3 of mankind. Daniel 12:1 predicts this terrible time. It states, "And there shall be a time of trouble, such as never has been since there was a nation till that time." Also, this level of catastrophe was part of what Jesus predicted, calling it a great tribulation. Matthew 24:21-22 reads, "For then there will be great tribulation, such as has not been from the beginning of the world until now. No, and never will be. And if those days had not been cut short, no human being would be saved. But for the sake of the elect, those days will be cut short." What if John was talking about a virus when he's describing those demonic demons that will be released from the bottomless pit? Interesting, huh? Because in a sense, viruses have to be released. They are bound and they are contained until they are till something is concocted laboratorily, in a laboratory to make it happen. Well, in October 1347, when a Genoese trading ship, fresh from the Crimea, docked at a harbor in Sicily, dead and dying men lay at the oars. I'm going to be reading and commenting on When 1/3 of the World Died by Mark Galli. This is found in ChristianityToday.com. I will leave the the link, the website. So let's read and comment and talk and learn. So the sailors had black swellings the size of eggs in their armpits and groins, swellings that oozed blood and pus, and spreading boils and black blotches on the skin. The sick endured severe pain and died within 5 days of the first symptoms. Doesn't it seem like the Lord saved a lot of the disease, the worst of the worst? Not for the last days. Back then, man, there was some bad stuff. Leprosy? Well, there still is leprosy today. Okay, let's go on. Other symptoms appeared in some of the next victims. Continuous fever and spitting of blood. These victims coughed, sweated heavily, and died within 3 days or less, sometimes in 24 hours. No matter the symptoms, everything about the victims smelled foul, and depression and despair fell over them when they contracted the disease. The disease, bubonic plague, that's what we're talking about, was so lethal, some went to bed well and died before morning. Some doctors caught the illness at the patient's bedside and died before the patient. Borne by ships traveling the coasts and rivers, by early 1348, the plague had penetrated Italy, North Africa, France, and crossed the English Channel. At the same time, it moved across the Alps into Switzerland and reached eastward to Hungary. In a given area, the plague wreaked its havoc within 4 to 6 months and then faded, except in larger cities. There it slowed in winter, only to appear in spring to rage for another 6 months. In 1349, it hit Paris again and began spreading through England, Scotland, and Ireland, as well as Norway, Sweden, Denmark, Prussia, and Iceland, sometimes in chilling fashion. For those of you who don't know what Prussia is, that was Germany before it was Germany, sort of. Off the coast of Norway, a ship drifted aimlessly offshore, finally grounding itself in Bergen. Is that Bergen? B-E-R-G-E-N or Bergen? I think it's Bergen. On boarding the ship, people discovered a load of wool and a dead crew. Wow. By mid-1350, the plague had passed through most of Europe. The mortality rate ranged from 20% in some places to 90% in others. In many rural villages, the last survivors moved away, and the village sank back into the wilderness, leaving only grass-covered mounds. Overall, the estimate of one medieval observer matches that of modern demographers. Is that demographers or demographers? Demographers sounds better. A third of the world died, brothers and sisters, okay? That would have been 20 million deaths back then. Wow. That means there were only 60 million people on the earth at that time. In other words, from 1347 to about 1350, medieval Europe experienced perhaps the greatest calamity in human history. It shouldn't surprise us that this plague, or the Black Death as it is often called, left its mark on medieval Christianity. But in many cases, the mark it left looked as hideous as the symptoms of the Black Death itself. So I'm not going to read the whole thing. It goes into deserted loved ones, appeasing God's wrath, murderous atonement, angry aftermath. You can go ahead and read all that. But isn't it interesting that a lot of the book of Revelation could have already taken place? What we think the last days is supposed to look like, it might not be as bad as we thought it was going to be, or it might be worse. I don't know. A lot of even the persecution that the book of Revelation talks about has already happened. And it's continuing to happen. So anyway, I thought you would find that interesting. I'm not feeling. I'm gonna go lay down.